Thank you for attending this afternoon. With me on my right is the County Executive, Steve Newhouse. Along with Steve is Adam McCary, our fire inspector, Alex Smith, our city attorney, and directly behind me, Sam Barone, our fire chief. Just to give you a brief history, back in May, Memorial Day weekend, we did have a similar event at the Highland Manor nursing home. The temperatures reached on the upper floor, the third floor, in excess of 100 degrees in many of the rooms. The city did violate the nursing home operators, and no evacuation took place at that time, but the issue is still pending in court. As you know, this past weekend, we had a similar incident. I was contacted, and the fire department was contacted late Friday, Friday evening. I spoke with the county executive 7 a.m. Saturday morning. We developed a plan, a potential evacuation plan for the facility, and decided that we would be approaching the facility manager, that if the repair hasn't been made in a very short period of time, that the city would have to evacuate the building, and the county executive agreed to take whatever legal action was necessary in county court to have a judge order the evacuation. The original plan was that the repair would be made by 5 a.m. on Sunday morning. That was what was represented to myself through our inspectors, and that did not happen. So we then began the evacuation plan. We spoke with Faith, the managing director there, and Faith advised us that they would do a voluntary evacuation rather than a mandatory evacuation. First, I need to thank the staff of the Middletown Fire Department, Chief Barone and his department, and especially Adam McCary, our fire inspector, also Lieutenant Welch of the Middletown Police Department, the State Office of Emergency Management, who also assisted, Dan Higbee in Mid-City Transit, and of course the county executive for their quick response. Evacuating 92 people in such a short period of time during a thunder and lightning storm certainly was a tremendous feat, and I think they should all be applauded for their efforts. Our goal is to reassure family members that we are looking out for their best interests, the best interests of not only the clients and the residents of the facility, but also the employees of the facility. The action taken to evacuate was the right one, and both the county executive and myself believed it at that day, and we still believe that. The city court issue back in May focused on three areas. One was property maintenance code, one was the mechanical code, and also the fire code. The state health department will have to speak to their issues if they have any remaining. Our focus has been, since May, to have any of the remaining, to have the air conditioning systems and units replaced, thus avoiding another incident. Obviously, that didn't work back in May, and we did have another incident this past weekend. Plus, we wanted to address the other city code violations, such as the elevator failures. The lawyers, the city attorneys, Alex Smith, and city personnel met yesterday with ownership representatives, and the ownership of the facility has agreed to do the following, and I believe some of it has already been completed. All of it has been completed. The current unit of the air conditioning system at St. Teresa's, or the former St. Teresa's, now Highland Manor home, is a 70-ton unit. There are two units there. One has failed, one has been operational. So basically they've been operating from what I understand to be at 50% of the maximum that they've had in the past. They have replaced the system with a 200-ton maximum, 100-ton usable right now, temporary chiller out in the back of the current nursing home. They have agreed to monitor this with a local engineering firm, Fellenzer Engineering, who were brought in by the city to do an evaluation and also to continue monitoring the systems as we progress. The Highland Manor has agreed to design a new system which will begin immediately, and installation of the system will be made this fall when weather breaks. To start installing one now and designing one now would only keep people out of the nursing home, out of Highland Manor, for a longer period of time. At this point, All city code issues have been addressed, and at the end of my presentation, Adam and others will be available to address any specific questions on the violations and on the solutions. In regards to the evacuation, the Highland Manor evacuation plan did not contain any relationship with any bus company that would allow for a free flow of the evacuation. This is something we've seen similar, and they've had, other nursing homes have had letters of intent or agreements with with the bus companies, and Highland Manor has now signed a letter of understanding with Mid-City Transit regarding any future emergencies, something that we required and they agreed. One thing I want to assure everyone is, first and foremost, our goal was to protect residents and employees of this facility as we would any vulnerable population. Our intervention was right and justified. Our team at this point has inspected the facility as recently as this morning, and the facility has been cleared for occupancy. The city's role was not intended to be punitive, but we demanded corrective action to a very serious situation, and this has happened. The focus beginning today is to get those residents back into the Highland Manor and close to their families and bring the employees back to work. And just to add on the employee issue, they did a tremendous job. We couldn't ask more from the employees and the management staff on hand at Highland Manor. Highland Manor has begun the plans for transferring all patients back to the facility, as when I spoke to their attorney, Neil, just a short while ago. All systems are working. All mechanical systems are working. The systems will be monitored by staff and be reporting to the city inspectors, and also by the outside engineering firm. Design work for the new system is underway, and a target date for the new system is this fall. So at this point, the only outstanding issues are the court issues, which are not resolved. They will be resolved by the city in the office, or in the city court. We're probably going to postpone this hearing on this Thursday, and the reason being we'll probably try to postpone it until after all the systems have been completed, because we would want a court order from the judge in order to ensure that Highland Manor complies with everything that they've done so far. The temporary chiller is working. It has more capacity than what they had previous to this past weekend. So, and the other issues have been addressed, and as I said, Adam will be available. At this point, I'd like to introduce our county executive. As I said, I spoke with him first thing at 7 o'clock in the morning. He put his team into place and was very helpful in helping us resolve the situation. Steve Newhouse.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say a couple quick things. I want to first thank the mayor and your staff, and Adam, you front and center on Saturday. This was no easy task. Removing 92 senior citizens or people that had disabilities on a Saturday in 90-plus degree weather in a heat wave was really not an easy thing. We had a meeting this morning with my Department of Health, Social Services, Office of the Aging, and what we're going to put together is an after-action report, probably utilizing input from your staff as well, Mayor, because other places around the state are asking us how it went well, what worked, what didn't work. The reason why I want to bring up one other thing, at the end of last year, they closed a nursing home in Rockland County, their county-run facility. Over the 30 to 45-day period when they closed that facility, about 20% of their residents passed away during the move. So on Saturday, what we witnessed, the gentleman behind me, the mayor and his staff, was upset. Some of the reporters in the room were there. People crying in tears, stressed. It is not something you want to put on a individual that's either elderly and is on some type of medication or on some type of assistance. We had people on oxygen. We had to put together with these professionals behind me ambulances last minute. We had to put together the buses that the mayor talked about. This is not an easy thing, and it's not something that is not impacted on those patients. And if you wanted to see the photos or talk to some of these places, it was heartbreaking. So what we want to do now, the mayor and I spoke yesterday, we spoke this morning. I'm behind them 100%. The county attorney's office, I told them to on standby if they need to back the city attorney's office up, if we need to go to court. Thankfully, everybody seems to be cooperating. And I'll say one last thing. All the emergency workers did a great job, but I will say that the staff at Highlands, the nurses, and everybody really rogered up. They were very cooperative with us. They were very accommodating to the patients. So I will say that I think that the nurses and the staff there did care about the people there. It was just about getting that facility to be in standard. So that's all I have to say.
Any questions? Steve, Hank, Steve, where did I get Steve from?
Facilities where they transfer to?
11. 11 different facilities from Terrytown up to the Middletown area.
Can you give us a breakdown on where they went?
Well, it was 11 different facilities. I know the furthest away was the Terrytown location, which is well over an hour away across the river. Made it very difficult for family members to visit. And matter of fact, my office had a complaint this morning that the facility in Terrytown was lacking hot water. So they wanted to know when they're going to be able to get back into Highland Manor. I understand that, a lot of these facilities do have problems here and there, but, lack of hot water is not a life-threatening thing where has a 102-degree temperature in your room, I believe is. But it was scattered around. I know some went to the county-owned facility, Valley View, and others were within an hour and a half of Middletown.
Was there a reason given or an explanation as to why the repair wasn't made since the original incident?
No, actually, we have a flow chart here of the connection with the city and in the fire inspector's office. And there's been a problem with the system for quite a while. And I know that the new owners, they are relatively new owners over the last couple of years. They were making improvements at the property, but apparently this did not become a high priority replacement for them. I don't know if it was the cost or the high cost, but with one system down and the other system very old and antiquated and leaking. It was leaking Freon back in April before the May incident. So, and we have verification from a company that was doing work on the system then. So they knew they had a problem. They didn't address it. I don't know if there, one explanation given by a maintenance guy up there was we were trying to get through the summer, so we wouldn't have to shut the facility down during hot weather. It's not an acceptable explanation, but that was the rationale that we believe they were taking. So the system had major problems as back in April of 16.
So are there any additional sanctions they could face? Or
Yes. That would be up to the court. We're not dismissing the court action. We're continuing to move ahead with the court action, both for the May incident, and we will refile for this incident also. We'll wait for a final solution on how this new system gets put in place, and I'm sure, like, when they take all the corrective actions that are necessary, the permanent corrective action, that the court will look at them more favorably than they would if the job is not complete when they say it will be completed.
And the costs associated with buses and that kind of stuff, and transport, I imagine, gets passed back to them.
That will be passed on back to them. As I think I stated, and Steve reaffirmed, that there was no agreement in place with Mid-City Transit, which makes it even more significant that they came out just on a call by the city. But that will be something that I'm sure they will agree to pay, but if not, the court will order them to pay.
So we're talking city court?
City court for the 3 areas, property, maintenance, and the other issue that I addressed. We can't address state health department issues in city court. It's only the city code issues, city charter issues.
It sounds to me like you're describing a facility that is not run, has not been run very well, at least did not put the full concern of the patients
Well,
first.
that was our position, and hopefully they had a wake-up call. And I understand they do operate other facilities, not only in New York State, but in Massachusetts and other states. The message we wanted to send here is that you're not doing that here in Middletown, and as Steve would say, in Orange County. I do find it, from what I understand, it's highly unusual that usually you go through the regulatory body, the state health department, or the licensing board for these types of facilities. And we made the decision early on, back in May, that we would bring them into local court to try to force their hand. And it was a good decision. It didn't get the reaction that we wanted because there was a lot of talk between lawyers. But now that we've had a second incident, I think that was more of a wake-up call to the ownership. Listen, our goal is not to close a facility down, but it's also not to have a facility operate within our community that is not meeting certain standards and protecting the very vulnerable clients. The county executive mentioned, the tears coming out of some of the people there that who were actually mobile enough to get onto the bus, and it's a very sad process that we went through for, and I think the fire department was there for about 8 hours doing the transport, and the tears and the fear that you could see just in the relocation. Some of them actually would have preferred to stay in this 95, 100 degree high humidity weather in these rooms rather than be transported. So, but it was beyond everything else, just a sad situation, and probably a real black eye on the company that's operating. They have a lot to do to repair their name if they're going to do business here and in this area. But I'm sure, as people look at options to place their loved one or their family member, that this company's going to have to answer for that. And this time around, they did respond very quickly. If they would have did this in May, they probably would have their good name. But since it didn't happen in May, now they've really put a black eye on their operation.
So the damage is really not just to pay the bills on emergency buses to bring in and relocating them, but it's their reputation. The ones that we have in Valley View in the nursing home that we operate in the county, one who actually, they made a request to stay at Valley View. So those patients want to stay, they don't want to go back. They don't want to be transported again. So that reputation, like Joe was alluding to, is something that's going to be probably more costly than fixing the air conditioning system.
You're saying some of the patients.
I'll follow up on that. I'm sorry. I know we had 11 homes, one of which was Valley View. So you're saying all the people who went to Valley View?
We're getting requests from
elected-
them. The administrator, Lawrence Ledoux, he was part of our team that we met with this morning, said that I'm getting requests for them to stay. What are we doing? Because these rooms, these beds don't grow on trees. There is a shortage all over the place on beds. So nursing homes usually have a running list of people that want to come in. So we, as well as the other 10 nursing homes, did what we could to open up availability to accommodate this in an emergency situation. They want to stay there.
They're going to be able to stay there?
We are. We're going to make it work.
What's the figure for how many of them?
At least 7 will stay there. And, everybody has different financial sums. Some people have better money that they put together. Some of them are paid for by the government. But we don't discriminate on that. We hire whoever has a bed there, we want to accommodate them. And so that's what we're going to do.
There's a certain number that went to Valley View. Of that number, 7
They want to
elected to
stay.
stay there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you don't know what the number is.
I don't know
or
the
about-
exact
yeah.
number right off the
Okay.
bat. Yeah,
That's
we were
the-
concentrating on the after action because the state wants to ask us what went wrong in case they have to do this. Other places, like the mayor said, we were on the phone on Sunday with another location just to help out that had a similar situation with an air conditioning unit going down. Luckily, it was only for an hour and a half and it was repaired. But Joe and I got bought into that because we're the now experts on nursing home emergencies.
It wasn't in Middletown either.
Yeah.
Yes.
Become involved this weekend. Was it the nursing home itself that reached out that said it's gotten too bad, or?
No, the fire department had 3 calls, I believe, either from family members or from maybe employees, and they responded initially. So the duty nurse did declare a heat emergency very quickly. So, and I might have misspoke earlier when I went Friday into Sunday. It was supposed to be repaired by 5 a.m. Saturday before the evacuation. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'm not here as the press. I'm
Okay.
here as a family member. And what I want to say is that this gentleman right here, I never saw anyone work so hard, never lost his cool, was out in that heat all day long.
He was.
I was there with my 95-year-old mother-in-law who was only there for a short time. She's there for rehab. And I agree, the staff tried to make everybody comfortable in a very bad situation, but he just really needs to be commended for the job that he did, that everybody did. I mean, the volunteers had to physically lift everybody into the bus, and they talked to the patients. They were really, really concerned. I know my mother-in-law, I kept telling her over and over again where she was going, and she went to Tarrytown. But I just want to thank everyone for the job that they did.
Well, thank you. And Adam did handle, really did a great job. He did it.
Actually, I sent a letter to Mr. Newhouse, but I didn't have the right names. I called different places, so I apologize. It was definitely him who did
Absolutely.
a superb job.
What's the name of the
The name of the company, HRNC LLC. And it stands for Highland Rehab Highland Rehab Nursing Center. Their corporate name, I guess, is HRNC, though.
And that was 7 patients confirmed at Valley View right now.
So is there a timetable for the return? Is it a schedule? Is it happening?
They need final clearance from the State Health Department, which our understanding is they were waiting on us to verify all the repairs were made, and especially the air conditioning issue. That's all been cleared. We did contact them, told them they can start making arrangements for the relocation. It'll take 2 to 3 days, from what I understand. They want to do it in a better way than, piling people into the buses, and that so the first residents should be coming back within a couple of days, pending State Health Department approval.
But not necessarily today.
No, I don't believe anybody will be back in today that short of a notice. No.
When we were all there, we were all standing out there, we knew how many people, I didn't count how many vehicles there were. Does anyone know how many vehicles were,
How many buses, you mean?
or how many buses, ambulances?
I have the statistics.
Yeah, Adam can address that. I know 10 people were transported by ambulance. The rest were by either family members that they took home or by bus to another facility.
Yeah, and this gentleman raised an important point, it's like, how much did this evacuation cost? I don't know. Does anybody-
Well, it's not costing the taxpayers, other than, having the response that was there for people who were funded, government employees. So we will not be picking up any of that cost, and we're hoping that the judge will look at whatever additional costs the city or the county may have, assumed. Well, there's going to be a big bill, but that's something we can look down the line and figure out. The emotional bill, I think, is much more than the financial bill.
You don't have an actual figure.
No, we don't.
Is there a sense of frustration that this played out the way it did?
Sure.
And is there any doubt in your minds that this was potentially life-threatening?
Oh, it was. In May, there were 3 people transported to the hospital. 2 were patients. One was an employee. So there was not only danger to the patients, but also danger to the employees. The reaction this time was much quicker. They did relocate patients from the upper floors down to the lower floor, where they still had some cooling. They did bring in staff immediately, additional staff, as the lady, the relative of the client up there, the daughter-in-law, said. And so it was much more organized from the May incident, but it's a very vulnerable population. 10 people could not even be transported by ambulance or by car. It had to go by ambulance to other facilities. So it potentially was a serious issue, and that's why we're going to continue with the court actions to make sure that this issue is resolved once and for all.
It was, we really dodged a bullet. They dodged a bullet. There was significant lightning, rain, obviously the heat. Some of the patients initially had to cover their heads with towels and then put them onto a bus with a lift on there. It was a very stressful occasion. So, and at the end of the day, our goal is not, we talked the whole time, the mayor and I, as well as the emergency responders, on how we were going to strategize this, but our goal was not to shut this place down. We want those people to continue to be employed there. We want the people to continue to be cared there, but they have a standard that they didn't meet. And now, hopefully, by having other people involved, having Felsinger as a monitoring engineer, we're going to be able to have them in operation and feel a little bit at ease. The fact that we had to go out there on a Saturday and evacuate them is really the ultimate failure. And the only thing worse than that would have been having a fatality.
Well, the schedule for this Thursday, but we believe it'll be postponed from what Alex is telling me, in order to get all the agreements so that we can at some point finalize what our understanding is, what their understanding is, as we move forward. We don't want to dismiss the case in court or have go to final solution in court until all the repairs are made. Permanent repairs, not just the temporary repairs. The chiller that's outside, as I mentioned, is a huge one. It's probably 3 times of what they need capacity-wise. So with the daily monitoring, we don't anticipate another problem. But that's why having the private engineering firm checking on a daily basis to make sure the equipment is running smoothly is important. So the court action will come after all the issues are mitigated. Over 100, yes.
Over 100. This time, we were talking about 90s. What were the highest temperatures?
I believe the low to mid-90s were the highest recorded that we had. But don't forget, we did start bringing people down from upstairs to the lobby area and to the first floor very early. Last time that didn't happen as quickly as we would have liked, and it was over a couple-day period. This time we were notified on Friday and Friday evening, and by Saturday the evacuation began. So
I see, so they were supposed to do the repair
by 5 a.m. Friday morning, Saturday morning, yeah, correct.
So they didn't, and I think you met with Faith at 11:30.
Around 11:30, yes.
11:30, and then you started, by my clock, you started the evacuation around 3.
Yeah, we, as I said, if the evacuation plan contained a contract or memorandum of understanding with a bus company, it would have acted quicker. But it did not contain that, so we had to coordinate that. The county exec had to bring in the ambulance coordinator of the county to coordinate the necessary ambulances, and the bus company, without any contract, just on a handshake that don't worry about it, came in, and I believe they brought in probably about 6 or 7 buses. And, you know, they had to coordinate drivers and get people in.
What was the total time of evacuation? How long did it take?
8 hours. 8 hours to do the evacuation, right, madam?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, so we, am I correct, we started, I was just thinking about 3. What time did we start?
It was a little earlier than 3.
Earlier.
Yeah, yeah.
So we might.
Yeah, it went into the later hours of the night.
was the process prior to doing
But before you saw the buses, the homeowner, the people who took patients home, our clients home, and also the ambulances were loaded in the back of the building. The front part started a little later.
Do you know how many people went home early?
We were told it was a handful that day, not many. You have that, Adam?
Yes, sir.
Oh, he has the number, so.
6 to families.
Right. Yes. A handful plus 1, 6. Yes.
Did the owners come on Saturday to help with the evacuation?
No, I haven't met any of the owners, but the Faith, who is the managing director there, was there during the process. They did not participate in it, their employees did, but the management was probably making arrangements for where they're going to go and doing all of those things. Any other questions? Okay. Any questions of Adam on what the code violations were originally, or nothing? Okay. Thank you.